Good morning, friends. So in the last class we have seen this, that is what is transaction processing. So today we'll just continue with the transaction processing concept. So in the last video we have seen about the definition of transaction and basic operations. So now what is this read item X? So read item X, it reads the database item named X into the program variable. So that means X is a program variable, like generally what you declare in a program, and when you read, that is when you access some data from the database, that value will be stored in this X. This is read. Similarly, there is a write. When you change or when you update this X, that value gets updated. So we will look more detail about read and write in the next slides. So here there is read and write operations, what exactly is about. So basically we know about data transfer from the disk. So whenever that is main memory involved in this, so whenever we read the data from the disk, so from the block the data will be read, and when we make some changes to the data, so it will be written back to the, that is saved in back onto the to the disk. So here you may see here read item, it is nothing but a function or a command. So then what are the process that exactly happens when you execute this read item X? It is also a kind of a general read what you can have. So here what are the steps here? First step, find the address of the disk block that contains item X. Suppose X is 10. Now when you make a, actually look for that, when you want to read, what will happen, it will look for the address of the disk block that contains item X. Then it is a general search kind of a thing. So find the address means it searches, the operating system searches for a disk block where this X is available. Next what it will do, it will copy this disk block, that is the value of X, it will copy into a temporary memory, that is a buffer. Okay, and then this, from this buffer, that this X will be copied from the buffer to the program variable named X. So here what are the X you are saying? X is named same, even the program variable name is X, and even the disk block is also X. So don't be confused with these two X's here. The first X what you are looking is also identified as the named as a X for the disk block, and this X in the third step, whatever the X you are seeing, so this is a program variable X. Okay, hope you understood. So one, there is this item X is a block. So first thing is what, we will read the X, will search the X from the disk block. So in the second step there is a buffer. So to this buffer this X is copied, or this will be written into this buffer, and from this buffer it will be shifted to the program variable, that is X. So this is how the read happens. Next is write. So write is exactly opposite of what the read is doing. Now the program, so the same thing in this, that is now you are looking for a disk block, that is which contains X. So get that value from the disk block. So once you get it from the disk block, copy that value into the buffer, and then copy that item X from the buffer into the program variable, that is whatever that buffer contains. From that buffer program variable will be copying that X value, and then whatever that program variable is there, in that program variable you make the changes, that is X gets updated to some value, and then what you have to do is you have to rewrite it back to the buffer and from buffer to disk. This is what exactly read and write operation happens. So let us try to understand this read and write a little bit more conveniently. So suppose this is a disk block, just name it as a DB. So this is a disk block, say it's a memory, so it is in 1000 x is the disk block. Okay, so now this is the disk block. Let's take it as 1000 is the memory location, this is in disk block. Now what this 1000 contains, this is the memory location, the 1000 is the memory location. Now here this is a disk block, so which is x. So assume that this x contains say 250 is the value. Okay, this is available in disk block. So at 1000 location, x is identified as the disk block containing a value 250. Now there is a program P1. This is a program P1. So which also contains a x, which is a program variable. Now program wants to read this x value from the disk block x, that is 1000. This x is now has to copy the value from location 1000. So program wants to read from 1000 location. So what the operating system will do, operating system will create a temporary memory called as buffer. So now this operating system, what it does, so it copies this x to buffer temporarily. You will copy this to buffer, and next the program will in the program x is a program variable, where again this x will contain 250 from the buffer. So hope you have understood. So this is memory block with 1000 location. Now buffer, first the operating system will create a buffer. So in the buffer this x value will be copied, and then program will copy this x from the buffer. This is what read function. Now going back to write function. Now the same thing will happen. Now assume program 1 wants to update this x. Now assume this, it will add some value to this. Suppose I will add, this is 250, 25 I will add. So now the x value is 275. So first thing is what, x value gets updated to 275. Then what will happen, this will be copied back to buffer. The operating system will copy this value to buffer, and from buffer it will be updated or rewritten back to the disk block of address 1000. So that is 275. So this is how the exact read and write operations take place. So we will see a few more examples now.